Today. So this is the start of passage 2.3. Questions on what we're doing? Cool. So we're going over questions 15 through 20. All right, so we always start with the what? Question. Don't waste your time reading the passage if you don't have to. So, which of the following conclusions is most strongly supported? Which of the following conclusions by experiment 3? Okay, so first things first, what kind of question do you think this is? EMI, IOD, or SIN? Yeah, why is it EMI and not SIN? SIN stands for scientific investigation, but what does EMI make you do? Go back to the passage. So EMI always wants you to go back to the passage. So if you see something that says conclusion, it's EMI.
What's IOD?
Interpretation of data. IOD is interpretation of data. Okay, so this says 10 minutes after being shaken, root beer does what? Okay, so lower level of carbonation than seltzer, higher level, greater quantity of liquid, achieve balance time twice as fast. So I'm going to go to experiment 3. Okay, sorry, I was waiting for it to focus. Experiment 3. The students added 1 liter of the flat root beer to an empty bottle and seltzer to a second bottle. So they had root beer and then they had seltzer. After shaking both and seeing froth form, they set them aside. 10 minutes in, it says there were less bubbles in the root beer than the seltzer, right? 10 minutes into the experiment, fewer bubbles were visible in the bottle with the root beer. So, now let's look at that. So our overall thing is the root beer had less bubbles than the seltzer, and we see that in this sentence. Yes or no? Yes. Cool. So, did it have a lower level of carbonation, a higher level, more liquid, or more balance time? Balance time, is this even mentioned? Nope. Had a greater quantity of liquid. Does it talk about the difference in how much they had? Also no. Higher level or lower level of carbonation? What did it have? Lower. How do you know? Because the passage said less or fewer. Right, so the answer to 15 is A. Alright, 16. When comparing trials 1 through 5, so I'm going to underline trials 1 through 5 and experiments 1 and 2, in which 2 trials are the balance times the most similar? So I need to look at trials 1 through 5. So the balance times, I need to know in which 2 trials they are the most similar. So in 1, my balance time without shaking, 20, 21, 20.15, 19, 22, 22. Okay. So that's 1 through 3. I'm looking there. In 4 and 5, I have 20.8, 22.67, 20.04, 22.45. I might actually go back to my answer choices first so I know what I'm looking at. So let's look at trials 1 and 5. So if I look at 1 and 5, 5 is 20.04, 22.45. I think I really only need to look at the balance times, but let's see. And 20.01 and 19.89. So that's for that answer choice. Okay, now trials 1 and 3. And I'm just got, like you see in the video, you only see this page turned here, but I'm really just writing these down. Okay, so trials 1 and 3, that's 20.01, 19.89, and then 20.15 and 22.48. All right, trials 2 and 4, I'm going to write that over here. I get 21.35, 22.97 with 20.83 and 22.67. And then trials 3 and 5, that's 20.04, 22.45. And 20 0.15, and 22.48. So now if I look at these answer choices, which ones are the most similar? So I'm going to take that off because that's 19 and 22. That's not very similar at all. So F is out. 1 and 3 is again a 19 and 22, so I'm going to take that out. Now 2 and 4 is a 21.35 and 20.83. They're not even starting with the same numbers there, so I'm going to cross that out. But this is 20 and 20 and 22 and 22. So my answer is J. Questions on that one? Okay. 17. Let's do orange. All right, in experiment 2, what's my locator? Yep, beautiful. Experiment 2, shaking the bottle of root beer resulted in. So what happened in experiment 2? So I'm going to flip my passage, and I'm going to go to experiment 2. So we added 1 liter of root beer, we shook it and sealed the bottle, found the balance time, and then shook it again. After conducting these measurements, they set their bottle aside. The results are seen. So before shaking, it took 20 seconds to balance, and then after shaking, it took 22.45 seconds to balance. So, it looks like it took longer after shaking to balance. So what do we think that means is happening? Decreasing the number of bubbles. Our thing doesn't measure number of bubbles. I'm going to cross off A. Increasing the balance time. That happened, so that might be right. Is that focused? Okay, so B's a maybe. C, decreasing the balance time. We do talk about balance time, but did it decrease? No, it went from 20 to 22, so I can cross off C. Increasing the mass. Did they measure it at all? No. So mass didn't happen. So the answer is B. Yes. Okay. So the number of bubbles also not measured. All right. 18. Okay, did everybody get this note right here that these two things weren't measured, by the way, for A and for D? None of those were in the experiment? Okay. 18. Based on the results of the experiments, so I have to look at all of them. We don't really have a good locator. That means 1, 2, and 3. I need everyone's attention. Okay. Based on, it is likely, or is it likely that bubbles were present immediately before the bottle was shaken in trial 4? Okay, so now we have to figure this one out. So based on experiment 1, it was likely that the bubbles were present before. It was unlikely that it was present before. So these are 2 answers we need to check out. So I need to look at experiment 1. Based on experiment 3, it is likely. Based on experiment 3, it isn't likely. So I need to look at experiment 3 and experiment 1. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to look at experiment 3 first, just because it's closest to my page. So, experiment 3. Let's see. They added flat root beer to an empty bottle. Then they sealed it. And then after shaking, they saw froth. They set it aside. 10 minutes, there were less bubbles. In 90 minutes, there were no bubbles. Okay, so in that one, what did we see? We put it in the bottle, and then it could froth, and then it went flat. Right, but what is it that put the bubbles in, or what is it that put the bubbles in the bottle? Like, what did they do to make it froth? Yeah, so they shook it. Okay, now I'm going to go to experiment 1. Okay. The students had 1 liter of clear fruit juice, which is uncarbonated, to an empty bottle. They placed it between fixed points and closed the hinge. The balance time was then recorded. Then they added the juice to a second empty bottle, sealed it and shook it, and found its balance time. So they did that with seltzer and with root beer. So